Let's play some hockey. Stars Blues Game 3, series tied at 1. Well, Blues wins have been nail-biting finishes.
History, Jeff. Okay, your game will be the opening game of the Nat Stadium.
Clearly, the Wizards are not the same team that they were in the beginning of this season. They are definitely a force to be reckoned with. You could see the defending champions here tonight playing a back-and-forth game all night long. And they say that basically he influenced, Muhammad Ali. And he said,
oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Okay. I was kind of thinking, like, how was this color going to look on camera? So, I mean, this looks really kind of different. Okay. It actually doesn't look like, it's actually more loud. It's like loud, right? Anyway, I'm talking to like Igor, but you all can't see him. So this is kind of like our new look, new fun. You see a lot of action. It's almost like I wanted to do something like TMZ, so that you see a lot of action. You see people at work. You just see everything going on that takes place at WLVS. And, we make it kind of fun here. It's so much. Jeremy Beaver, who is the brains behind this wonderful concept, is really doing a lot of great and wonderful things here at this station. So you see the quantum leaping that he's making in this industry, and you see it kind of like right here. So, it's kind of fun. But anyway, hope everybody had a nice Memorial Day. I did as well. I did like a lot of things. The devil tested me this weekend as well. I can't lie about that, but I'm okay. I survived it. I'm here. But I had a wonderful weekend. I went to a 70s party. And if you go to my Facebook, my Instagram, or my Twitter page, Alina7 everywhere, you will see my crazy old outfit that I had on. But it was a 70s birthday party, and I had so much fun. And my brother-in-law and sister came, and of course, you couldn't tell him he wasn't Billy D. Williams. I swear to God, he thinks he is so Billy D. So, you guys, it's a lot of fun. You got to go see the pictures. And my sister was, as someone I know coined it, Diana Ross. So we'll just say that she was Diana Ross and he was Billy D. Williams. So anyway, it was really a lot of fun. And then what else? Then I went to the Nats game. Yes, I went to the Nats game. The Florida Marlins played the Nats. That's when the Nats won. Now, from what I understand, they lost the other day to the Florida Marlins, and they shouldn't even be losing to them. That's a team that's rebuilding. They don't even really have that much going on that team. They do have some good players, but they really don't have that much going on. So I just don't get it. I really don't get why we even lost yesterday's game, but we won Sunday's game. So anyway, but I went to Nats Park too, and then yesterday I went to a really nice cookout, and it was hosted by people who come from El Salvador. So I got invited to a really nice barbecue. So I had kind of like an El Salvadorian barbecue, if there is one, but that's basically what I got invited to. So I went, and so, I had a good time. No water, though. No beach, no anything like that. Not yet, but soon I'll be able to do all that stuff. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the playoffs this week. Never will I ever underestimate Kawhi Leonard. That's all I got to say. Never will I underestimate Kawhi Leonard, because I said the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm so wrong. I was wrong in the first round. I'm wrong in the second round, and I was wrong in the third round. I mean, I just suck. Don't listen to me. I can't predict nothing. I mean, can you believe that? I said Milwaukee was going to win. I had no idea the Raptors were going to go this far. I had no idea Kawhi Leonard was going to be such a winner. He's not that. I mean, he's a scorer. He plays defense. He's an all-court player. But what he has most of all is he's a winner. That's what he is. He's a true winner. So anyway, we're going to get into that next week with my guest who will be on I Got, yes, the crew, Darren McClinton, and I got my boy, yes, Coach Keith Williams. Those two are going to come back, defend their losing record on predictions as well, because we were all wrong. I think Darren got us beat by a few rounds, though. But anyway, but without further ado, I really want to get into my show. You know, my co-host, who's supposed to be here, my son, I don't know where he is. But anyway, his butt's supposed to be here. He's late for the second week, right? So we're going to get on him about being tardy. But I know he does like Uber Eats, too. So I can't get on him but so much. But my guest is here. Igor, turn the camera around. Just turn it a little bit. Yes, my guest is here. Look. Yes, former council member, the Honorable Michael Arrington Brown. I prefer his middle name, though. Isn't his middle name nice? He loves his middle name, too. Arrington. Anyway, Michael's here, so we're going to be getting into a whole bunch of stuff, politics, Joe Biden. We're just going to get into, like, a lot of stuff, you know, everything that's kind of going on out there in the world as in terms of, like, the election 2020, the impeachment, all of that stuff that Michael brings to the party. How you doing, Michael?
Lena Seven, how are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you. How was your Memorial Day?
I don't know, interesting outfit you have on today.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's louder.
I didn't say nice. I said interesting.
Oh, what you talking about? Why you call my outfit interesting? You don't think my outfit is cute?
Everything you wear is cute.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It is a little loud, though, isn't it? It's bright.
Like an orange fuchsia.
But it doesn't look that bright there.
No, right, on TV it doesn't, but in person it's definitely a little brighter.
I know. I'm like, how come it's not bright like it is in person?
It's very springish.
Yes.
So wear it well.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Igor, can you turn the camera on someone else that we know who just walked into the studio? You know, this is kind of like TMZ. So I keep it real. I keep it fresh. We have a lot of fun here. We have so much fun here.
That ab work, good job. I hit his hand. My hand hurt.
He was dying to get here. Right here, PJ. He was dying to get here. Oh, we'll put Michael in the middle, though. Yeah, okay. So, no, you'll be in the middle because I know PJ wants to talk to you, too. So we'll just move this over, right, Igor? We'll just move this over to the guys working over here. Here you go.
Are you going to stay
there you go. Well, oh, no, that's right. I may sit from time to time. That's true. I'll just keep it here then in case I want to. Okay. So, PJ, late.
Yep.
Why?
Parking light.
Can you talk to him, Michael, and just give him some words of encouragement, letting him know how important it is to be punctual?
As he probably knows, that when you know you have to be somewhere, let's say, be careful. All right?
Igor, can you fix my chair, please? This is too funny.
As he probably, this is live TV.
That's
what
live
happens.
TV. Can you fix my chair? Thank you, so I don't fall. Oh, you have another one? Okay.
Well, as PJ probably knows, if you have
Yes.
to be somewhere at 6, it's probably best to make sure you're there a little before 6, so you have a little cushion time. So he's working on it. And then DC.
I actually pulled up when Michael pulled up, but you know the parking situation. You know,
I got lucky you didn't park behind me.
Yeah, you
'Cause
got.
I thought there was another spot. Somebody took it. Yeah, we got. I got lucky.
Okay.
So I was like driving around for like 5-10 minutes for
No,
parking.
okay. Oh, really? Okay. All right. Great. So, as you know, PJ is working hard to be his own entrepreneur. You know, he's doing
Yes.
Uber Eats and he's doing all this stuff to
Yes,
be quite the business person. You know, unfortunately, he was not part of the 2019 class where he got the whole bill taken care of. But nonetheless, So what can we say? What can we say to young kids who are just coming out of college? I know you have twins as well. What kinds of things are you doing for your kids?
Well, I think the thing is you can't force your kids to do anything. What you do is you just try to give them the kind of values and support and love that they need to make their own decisions. You just hope, and what I used to tell my kids all the time, I hope when you're like at a fork in the road, and one way is kind of iffy, the other way is maybe a little better,
Yes.
that you hear your parents' voice in your head saying, hey, go that way. It's the safest, but still, it's still your decision to make, and you have to support them on that decision.
Right.
And hopefully it all works out, but it's hard. It's a different time than when, you're a little older than me, but when we grew up.
That's not true.
When we grew up, it was a little different in that Brady Bunch. See, when I saw the Brady Bunch, it was reruns.
Oh,
when Alina
right,
saw Brady Bunch, it was
right.
live on Thursday night. But nonetheless, it is a different time. And we have to understand that as parents, that everything, we can't pretend that it's 20 years ago,
Yes.
and we can raise our kids. We have to raise our kids to what the environment is today,
Right, right. So speaking of the
which
environment,
includes social network, which is obviously social media. We never had any of that kind of stuff.
yeah, we didn't. But do you think that's a good thing, or do you think it's not as, because their lives are kind of chronicled in ways that we didn't get the opportunity to chronicle our lives like that?
Well, I'm curious to hear PJ's answer on the kind of social media thing, because it seems that kids today, because of social media, don't have the same kind of skill set with communicating in person that we did. Because we had to. We didn't have social media and
Right.
cell phones. The challenges today in PJ's generation is what happens when you finally meet somebody face to face. How do you handle that without your phone?
Right, without your phone.
I would say, I was just talking about this yesterday. That's the crazy part, but I would say that's not like that's not what I've encountered to be the big issue. Like when people face-to-face communication or social
You don't
skills.
have an issue communicating
Not
face-to-face.
and that's what I haven't really seen in people. But what I've seen most is like people would just record everything. Like I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I was on like social media just scrolling and stuff. Like one of my friends back in Atlanta, he had threw like a pool party and somebody had like died, at a rest in peace to him. But he had died at the pool party. A kid, he had died at the pool party, and like people were recording like him being like dead, like laid out dead. So that's just like a case of like just being able to like see that like kids in like my generation, they just record everything. Like that's disrespectful to record, right? If somebody like died, you wouldn't just go
Right.
and record their dead body.
Right.
That's just, I feel like that's more the problem, like with our people in my
you
generation.
mean like there's like
just
an
recording
invasion
anything,
of privacy.
invasion of privacy. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. That's
Yeah.
like the bigger problem in my eyes. Just
Yeah.
like what I see.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I didn't think about that one. But, to a certain extent, do you think if we had as much social media, would politics, how does that play with politics, though? With the invention of like Big Brother is always watching now.
Well, it's so interesting because when I was in office, I kind of touched on just the beginning of Twitter and kind of when I first started running for office in 2005, 2006, the beginning of Twitter, the beginning of Facebook.
Right.
And so it wasn't a super part of it. You used it, but in today's political world, it is a must. You have to have a Facebook page. You have to have a Twitter account. You have to have an Instagram account.
Wow.
You have to have Snapchat. You have to have the whole thing because you have to communicate with people because they're on their phones. Like Igor right now. See, Igor's on his phone. But so he
Igor
would get,
got called out.
He would get but he would get a pop-up
Yep.
of
Instagram.
a news thing or Instagram or something, and that's how politicians now have to communicate. Well, that's true.
The ones that I search for, they use it as algorithm and it keeps me back with the things that I search for.
Well, he's talking about
he's
algorithms,
searching,
right?
yeah, the
Yes.
algorithms.
But as we get closer to 2020,
Yes.
more people will be searching for what's up in politics today.
Oh, really?
And then it'll pop up. about
Okay.
what's going on either with, I don't call him Trump, I call him 45.
45s.
Or with the
45ers.
45ers and with people running against them. And so, yes, you cannot now run for office without social media, period.
You cannot.
Cannot,
Right.
period.
Now, would
you
you say...
You still got to do the traditional stuff. You still got to knock on doors. You still got to do all the
Shake
traditional
hands.
stuff. But you got to have social media as part of it.
Right. But don't you think that Obama incorporated it, I think, more than any other candidate. I think he's actually really
Wasn't he like the life
started
of it?
though.
Yeah.
Well, again, the timing. Remember I told you the timing.
Yeah.
In that 2008, 2009, when it really took off, he happened to be president then.
Right.
Now, 45 has taken it to a whole nother level because he actually does policy on Twitter. He'll tell you what he's thinking about North Korea or Iran. No one would ever have thought that presidents would communicate like that, but he's taken it to another level. He has, 66 million followers or something crazy like that?
Yeah.
So he's able to communicate his message. He doesn't like how the press treats him. So he sends out his own Twitter, and so he gets his message out the way he wants to get it out.
But isn't that kind of wrong, though? Don't you feel like there needs to be some eyeballs on it, especially when you're running for an office, Michael? Shouldn't you have people kind of censoring what you're about to say?
Well, it's interesting that debate's going on right now with happened with Speaker Pelosi.
Okay.
They put out a fake video of her slurring her words, making it look like she was drunk giving a speech, but it wasn't.
Oh.
They went in and doctored the tape, so it looked like that. So other media outlets put the real speech on and then put the doctored next to it, and you could see that. And so Twitter and Facebook would not take it down.
Okay.
And they were under a lot of pressure. Why won't you take it down when you know it's not right and it's fake? The viewer can figure it out for themselves. That's their answer.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. But why would they doctor it like that? Did they really slur
Well,
her?
the 45ers.
The 45ers.
The
did they?
45ers were trying to make her look bad because she, frankly, has his number. She's been punking him every day of the week. I'm so proud of Speaker Pelosi.
Has she? What has she been doing?
She punked him. She said his family, 45's family and friends need to come in and give him an intervention. She prayed for him. She said, I'm praying for him. And whenever you say that, that's a pitiful comment for somebody. So, she's just been punking him left and right. She knows the game of Capitol Hill. She knows the game of Washington. And she's going to do everything she can to make sure in 2020 we keep the House, take the Senate, and have a new person in the White House.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let's go back then. Let's just talk. So what do you want to talk about first? Do you want to do impeachment first, or do you want to talk about the abortion rule first?
It's up to you. You're the host.
Well,
Unless you want to ask your co-host what we should do.
No, it's just that I'm just wondering which is hotter this week.
I think impeachment is probably. Why don't we start with that?
Okay. All right. We'll start with impeachment. Where are we in terms of the impeachment process? It's getting closer. Something's about to happen.
Well, you have a debate within the two parties. Within the Republican Party, there isn't much debate. You have a couple Republicans.
But you have
on the
some
Hill.
Republicans.
I said you have a couple Republicans
yeah.
on the Hill that have already called and said impeachment would be okay with them.
Right.
But it's really a split in the Democratic Party. There's a philosophical conversation going on. You have leadership. When I say leadership, Congressman Clyburn, Speaker Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, that crowd that says, wait, let's not do something that will excite the 45ers.
Okay.
And then
so they're kind of playing it kind of cautiously, being scared.
Let's get more information, then we
Okay.
can make a decision
All
later.
right.
But then you have the other part of the party that are like, his people are already riled up. That's not going to change the dynamic.
Right.
But we have this is them talking. We have an obligation that if you see wrongdoing, you have to hold people accountable. You just can't let this guy continue to walk around the White House when he obstructed justice, period. You can't say, oh, we shouldn't do anything about it because it could hurt us in 2020. Some people say it'll help us if he has the label of impeachment on him.
Right.
So what's going to happen is I would hope whatever decision's made, it's made earlier rather than later.
Okay.
So then that way you can get to Medicare. You can get to health care. You can get to prescription drugs. You can get to infrastructure. You can get to all these other issues, get
Right.
impeachment out of the way, and move on with the people's business.
But why is it that we continue to be shortfalling on all these other issues when...
Because the focus seems to be this kind of stuff, impeachment, and that the president, number 45, isn't up for the task. And people, but Because when you look at the number one issue, when you poll Democrats, the number one issue, healthcare is clearly up there. Infrastructure is up there. But the number one issue that Democrats care about is beating 45. So they want some. So my father used to say when he was chair of the party, let's not make a point, let's win. Because a lot of people say, well, let's just make the point, but you lose, then you can't even do anything about the point you want to make. So let's win first.
Pretty smart.
Let's win first,
Yes.
and then deal with getting your issues. So you can pick another person. They're not going to beat 45. Then you're mad. Well, I picked the guy I wanted because of this particular issue, but he lost.
Yes.
Why not get somebody in there that's closer to you philosophically,
Yeah.
and then you can deal with those issues.
Okay. So what do you think is really holding up then the process? I mean, is it normally this slow?
It wasn't that slow with President
With
Clinton.
Clinton, I know.
Or
That's
with,
what I'm
or- but
saying.
it was slow with Nixon. Now, in
Oh.
the Nixon impeachment, even though he never got impeached, he resigned before he was impeached. The hearings did take some time.
Oh, they did.
They did.
Okay.
But
You
the
mean
difference
leading
was
up to the
leading
hearings?
up to the impeachment
To the
date.
impeachment date. Oh, okay.
The difference here is there's an election coming up in less than 2 years.
Okay.
Before, the timing was different. Nixon decided to leave before impeachment started. So the timing, it's supposed to take a minute. So Speaker Pelosi and her colleagues are trying to say, let's just pump the brakes for a minute and let's do it right.
Mike, do you think he'll last all the way till his 4-year term is over? Or no?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
think so?
I don't think his ego is too much. He'll never resign. He'll never do what Nixon did. I think he will be impeached.
Okay.
But impeachment, just for your viewers, just because you get impeached, it doesn't mean you get removed from office. Bill Clinton got impeached, but didn't get removed. What happens is the House of Representatives holds their hearings, and they have the impeachment hearing. Then you can vote for impeachment or not vote. Then it goes to the United States Senate for what's called the trial. And then the senator decide if he or she is guilty, then they're removed from office. In Clinton's case, they didn't have enough votes, so he wasn't removed from office. But he stayed president with the impeachment label. That's what some folks want with 45. Even if he makes it to 2020, to your question, at least he'll have the word impeachment labeled to him and tagged to him.
Now, when you go on Capitol Hill and you're there doing your lobbying and all the stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis, what is the word? Like, what are people like whispering about?
That everything's in an absolute mess.
Really? That's what people say.
It's just a
oh,
mess.
it's just a mess here.
It's just a mess. It's a mess. And and what's happened, the problem is everyone's saying it from their perspective on both sides. Republicans are like, oh, it's just a mess. They're just investigating this president because they don't like him. And the Democrats are like, we have to investigate him because he's a clown. So depending on what perspective you are.
Yeah, but it can't be just that he's a clown.
Well,
It's got to be
of course, I
that
don't mean clown
he-
literally.
he-
You know,
He conducted himself
He may have-
unethically.
he may have done some
He
wrongdoing.
may have done some
Correct.
wrongdoing.
Correct.
Right.
So on the Hill, to answer your question, yes, people are just like, it's a mess. And there doesn't seem to be a leader that can bring everybody together and say, let's get this mess behind us and do the work for the American people. And because of the personality of 45, who's always picking fights, bullying people,
Yes.
calling people names, it's hard to say, oh, let's talk about infrastructure. It's difficult because you have a constituency group of people of color, disabled, gay, immigrant, that say, no, that's unacceptable for a president to talk like that. So that's where the Democratic Party is saying, no, we have to hold this guy accountable.
What happened in our country? How come what was so wrong with Obama's time in office that we felt that this was the next best answer? Because to a certain extent, we kind of elected him, though. I mean,
I like to remind people he did not win the popular vote.
He didn't.
But he did in
won.
our system. He won the electoral college,
college.
which enables
Yes.
you to be the president.
Yes.
I think there are a lot that can take a long conversation, understanding why folks walked in the booth and voted for him over Hillary Clinton.
I'm just saying.
And keep in mind, and just to knock down the myth, yes, was there African American suppression in a lot of places? Voter suppression? Absolutely. But the
you think there was voter suppression?
Oh, absolutely. There were ads going out saying.
What does voter suppression mean exactly?
Voter suppression is when there are tactics used to keep people of color from voting. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So let's say the election's on Tuesday, November 6th.
Gotcha.
Some people would send out to the African American and Latino communities, hey, the election's been changed to Wednesday, so don't worry about Tuesday, you can vote on Wednesday. That's voter suppression. Because some people will be like, oh, okay, bet. I don't have to vote on Tuesday. Then you show up on Wednesday, and they're like, nah, you were supposed to vote yesterday. And you're like, oh, snap. So voter suppression can manifest itself, so people have to be aware of the dirty tricks. And the dirty tricks in this campaign will be unprecedented.
This election coming
up. What we
up.
saw in 2016 is nothing compared to what's going to happen this time. And what they did to Hillary is nothing compared to what's going to happen this time. Now, what I was saying is keep in mind.
But are the Russians going to be involved?
I think it's going to be Russians, Korean. Now it's everybody because this president has done nothing to stop the Russians. So if you're Iranian or if you're from somewhere else, you're like, oh, bet. We can do it without any consequences. Because he thinks, and 45 is probably right, that those people you just mentioned, maybe not Iran, but certainly North Korea and the Russians want to keep Trump in office because they think they can play him. They think he's a clown, and let's deal with him rather than somebody who's serious, who's going to hold us to account.
Right.
But I'm going back real quick. The reason, just take all the myths off the table, the reason Hillary lost was because of white women, not because of black suppression, though that hurt. But it was white women that she lost. She should have blown Trump out of the water with white women, and she didn't do that.
Right, because 56%, from what I understand, voted for Trump and didn't vote for her. And I kind of feel like that's really sad. But to a certain extent, as a woman, I can actually really say it that, you know, she may have not motivated and inspired these women, A, but B, I also think that women can be haters to each other. And I feel like that's what women just were like, I'm not going to vote for her. They were hating on her as opposed to really understanding her. And a lot of people don't realize this. Hillary Clinton was the woman who came to my hometown of New Bedford, Massachusetts, from what I understand, back in the 70s, maybe, when she was she in law school in the 70s?
Or late 60s, probably.
Or late 60s. She came to New Bedford, Massachusetts, my hometown, and there
the
were...
Cape Verdean capital of the world.
Yes, but what she did was she found that a lot of families who had some children that had been suffering from mental retardation were being left at home and not being educated. And she lobbied and came up with the actual law that allows, you know, kids to be educated in the same environment and to go to school like every other kid and to be able to get an education. You know what I mean? But it's really because of her. She is the one who lobbied Congress. Did you know that? Oh, you knew that. Okay. Yeah. That's a big deal,
remember,
though.
she also worked on the Watergate hearings with Nixon. She worked on the Hill at the time.
Oh, okay.
And my old boss, Peter Rodino, congressman from New Jersey, when I worked on the Hill, was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee at the time. So he's the one that actually hosted those impeachment hearings. Let me ask PJ something. What is your generation looking forward to as a president? Do you say, when you see 45, because I don't call him by the name.
Got you.
I refuse to say it. 45. What do you see in him, and is it unacceptable to your generation? Do you guys want something different, or is it, you know what, so what, doesn't really have an impact on our lives?
That's a tough question. I would say that with my generation, we see in him, I would say for me, I just see in him a loss of hope and humanity. And it's how do you
Wow.
how do you pick that man as a president of your country? That just shows what the country is really built off. But you did see what, Obama, a great stand-up man, you saw something else. So if anything, Obama showed, our generation what it looks like, what
to be a high-quality president.
Be a high-quality president,
right?
And overall high-quality man. So
yeah,
that's what I feel like our generation is looking for. You know, we just see in Trump just what we don't want it to be.
And you know what's interesting about this
Wow.
country, and
That's well
obviously
said,
it
PJ.
really was, and
Yeah.
our history speaks to a lot about what happened and how this guy got elected. So you had 8 years of a African American president or president of color, and the potential of then a woman after that. So if you are part of the power structure, particularly the white male power structure, that's just too much to bear. You had 8 years of a brother, and then potentially another 8 of a woman. Oh, that's just too much.
Yeah, that
And
was
so
too
you
much.
had
I felt
people
like,
who
yeah.
heard, there's something called dog whistles, where you hear something that you may not hear it on the loudspeaker, but if you're thinking it, you're like, oh, he talks like me. So when he started saying things about immigrants and Mexicans
Yep.
and people of color and the disabled and the gay community, you're like, oh, snap, he sounds like me. I never vote. I haven't voted in 4 cycles, but I'm gonna vote now
Yeah.
because I like what he's saying. And you didn't. And now what you see is a rise in Ku Klux Klan membership, a rise in white nationalism and their organizations, because they have a president who basically supports them. And you saw what happened in Charlottesville, and he didn't condemn that. He
What happened in
said-
Charlottesville?
Charlottesville was when the big white nationalist rally, and that young lady Heather Heyer was killed.
Okay.
Was killed by one of the white nationalist group, ran her over in his car, and the president the next day said, there are good people on both sides, trying to, and he gave, and then what David Duke did, the head of the Ku Klux Klan, David Duke sent a note, thank you, Mr. President, for standing up for us.
Yes.
And when that happens,
And he did not deny that.
no, when David Duke supports you, you know there's a problem.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Do you know who David Duke is?
You
PJ?
just said the head of.
Yeah, he has a
KKK.
history of being, so. Okay, so are we all done in terms of impeachment?
So impeachment, so we'll see over the next, I think within, next time I come on,
Okay.
which is, I guess,
In
mid
June.
to late July, mid to late June.
Yes.
I think we'll have a better understanding of timing. And then
Okay.
I should be able to give you a better understanding of where we are in impeachment.
Okay, because we don't know where the impeachment is right now.
No, but it's growing.
It's growing.
It's growing.
So would you say it's a fourth done, 3/4 done, or in the middle somewhere?
Well, until Speaker Pelosi says green light,
Okay.
I have to say 0 because
Oh,
she
okay.
she controls
She controls it.
But
Yeah.
there is a groundswell within the party
Okay.
of members of Congress that are saying that's not acceptable, Speaker. We need to do this.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Wait, I have one question. So, when you said you don't think he's going to be impeached before his.
No.
For you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought your question. I thought your question was, will he make it to the ballot in 2020?
Yeah, that's kind of what I asked.
The
But
answer
I'm
is, I think yes.
He'll make it, but he'll have the name of impeached.
Correct.
Gotcha.
He'll have that hopefully,
Label, hopefully.
he'll have that label on him. Because I don't believe in the fact that you shouldn't impeach him because it'll rally his troops. Have you ever seen his rallies? These people are already riled up. They don't need-
I've never seen.
I mean, have you ever seen his rallies on TV?
No.
These people are crazy. And if you come in talking about, like, you see all these people, these tourists walking around with these little Magna hats, and and some people, especially in
I really haven't seen one.
well, when you go downtown near the mall,
Okay.
you see a lot of people. Not a lot, but some people are bold enough to wear them in D.C. What some people of color
I
will
think
say,
I've seen a video on social media, like somebody was wearing them,
and he got jacked up.
jacked up.
So, because some people say when you have on that Magna hat, that it's almost like having on a sheet, a KKK sheet, when you're wearing that, because you're believing in what he's saying,
Yeah.
which is very anti-people of color.
Kanye.
Wow.
Yeah, he looked like a clown with it on.
Kanye. What? I mean.
My kids don't even want to listen to his music anymore after he acted like a fool in the way.
Yeah, I was his
No.
biggest fan for real, but
He
Not
loved
anymore.
Kanye.
Right,
He
see?
loved Kanye.
So my kids are, they're like, forget him.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I had another question though. So when the like the name or the profile of impeach is on the president's name, that does something in history to him, like his legacy.
That's
Gotcha.
absolutely correct, because you can name the people that have been impeached. Well, not him yet, but Clinton.
Gotcha.
Nixon wasn't impeached yet, but he was going to be He just resigned from office before that happened, and then President Johnson. So it's only happened 3 times in our history. So it is a big deal when you have that word impeachment.
Can you be elected though?
Oh yeah, he
With
can
that, he can still run
absolutely.
for re-election.
And then
be
he'll
elected.
want to be elected really bad now because he
Yes.
want to show
Okay.
that you impeached me and I still won. That's how he.
Oh
wants to do it.
my! That's how he wants to roll.
That's why this 2020 election will be the nastiest, dirtiest in our history. My prediction.
It's
You
already
may
though.
see. No,
It's
but
already
I'm
a
talking
little
about-
bit though.
I'm talking about fights at voting booths, registration tables. People gonna be scrapping.
Oh my God!
I hope
Are
not,
you
because this is
serious?
a democracy.
Oh my God,
you
this
hope
is
that doesn't
terrible.
happen in America
I hope that doesn't
in 2020.
happen. Yeah.
But it's going to get nasty.
Yeah, I can see it getting nasty. Yeah.
Hence why people can't sleep. You need to stay woke
Yes.
and get up. If you're not
Go out
registered,
and
register, and then you got to vote.
Yep. And you can vote
and,
this year.
and a piece. What happened? Here's another piece of suppression. You get to the voting booth. To the table to get your ballot.
Yep.
And somebody will say, oh, you're not on the list. Because that's one way to keep you from being. And most people are like, oh, really? Okay. And they go home. You can get what's called a provisional ballot. So when they tell you can't, say, I want a provisional ballot.
Wait,
anyway.
hold on.
Oh, I
Repeat
know
what you just
that.
said, because I feel like that happened to me in college. Can you repeat?
Yeah.
When I was
So
in school, they were like telling us to vote, and then when I showed up, there was like somebody said you couldn't vote. Can you just repeat what you said?
Okay, now, depending on when, I'm not
Your
sure
state.
your situation. If you.
I thought I got
In your
registered.
state.
Are you registered here?
No,
I
you
mean,
are
in Maryland?
registered here in Maryland, PJ. That's why. It
Yeah.
goes to your driver's license.
But to his point, for other college kids in the
okay.
same situation,
Okay.
you have 2 things, and I'll get back to the other piece. You have 2 ways to vote. You can come home for election day, but most parents say, we don't want you missing class. You can get what's called an absentee ballot.
I heard about that.
Now, an absentee ballot is your parents can send it down to you. You fill it out, do whatever you're supposed to do, and you send it back, and it gets counted.
And you
So-
send in your vote. That's like.
Yes, it's on your vote. It's called an absentee ballot. So even though you can't be in your home state that day,
To vote.
so when you showed up to vote wherever you were, I take it in A-Town,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
of course you weren't on there because you're not registered in the state of Georgia.
Yes.
You're registered in the state of
State of
Maryland.
Maryland, PJ.
So-
And that the absentee ballot wouldn't work though, because you can't really send back. Because it was like the voting when I was in school was like it was like the state of Georgia. Like
Oh
the
yeah, no,
government-
you wouldn't be able to vote even down there. But he's talking about the presidential
Yeah, president. He's talking about
election.
president.
You
Okay.
can vote absentee ballot, and that's what we would have to do. I would have to
But you can't
make
wait.
arrangements
but
for
you can't.
you.
But you can't wait.
Yeah.
When the deadline comes, you got to get it in and out quickly. You can't say, "Oh, I'll just wait till election day." No.
No.
You need to get it back as quickly as possible so it'll
get it
counted.
back here, and I will be
Now,
coordinating
on that second piece, what I mentioned the first part, when you walk up to the table and they say, "Sorry, sir," or "Ma'am, you're not in our registration piece," most people say, "Oh, okay," and they just leave. Don't leave. You can ask. It's your right to ask for a provisional ballot. Provisional ballot is they still give you a ballot, you vote, but it goes in another pile until it's determined that you were eligible to vote. Once it's determined you are, it gets put in the big pile.
yes.
Now,
Okay,
your
good to
vote
know
will
that.
only count if it's
Provisional
super
vote.
close. If it's not close, they don't even count them because if they only have 10 votes, then it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But if they have a bunch of votes and it's close over here,
Yep.
then they'll have to go through each one. PJ, is he registered to vote? Was his address the same? What happened? Then if they figure it out, then you get put in the big pile.
Okay, so we're moving on because I definitely want to
Sorry
get.
about that, but that's important.
No, that
'Cause
was
people-
very
it's
important. No, no, no. I appreciate
PJ
that.
raised a very important, especially for college students that are out of
For
town.
that are now eligible to vote. You were not eligible to vote the last time, but now you are. So
Yeah, I was,
you're old
but-
enough. But anyway,
was
let's
registered.
Let's move on to the abortion rule, okay? Because something was happening. Something was going on today, and I believe Justice Clarence Thomas and Ruth Bader Ginsburg somehow drew lines today. In fact, did you know that?
Or have
I did
you
not, but
had a
I
chance
guarantee
to-
if it's those two people, they were not on the same side of the issue.
They're not on the same side.
Correct.
Okay, so of course she would be on the side of giving women
Protecting
the
women, yes.
protecting women's rights, and he would be on the side of
Government being in your bedroom and in your womb.
right.
Well, that's what it is. Tell me a piece of legislation or a law in the books that gets into a man's situation. None. So why are we getting involved in women's choices?
It's just it's how the world.
Obviously, you know
So
where I am on that
You're
issue.
not. No, I know where you are. I know where you are. But what is the issue, and where are we in terms of this issue? Because obviously, yes, the government does want to kind of control this. They believe that for some reason, maybe women are using birth control, abortion as birth control. There's some level of ignorance in that department, but I feel personally that we should not get involved in that. The government shouldn't. Obviously, I'm right with you. But why is this such an issue in our community? Because I think a lot of times people don't understand how there is teenage pregnancy, there's rape, there's a whole bunch of other reasons. There's
Incest.
also incest,
Health of the mother.
health of the mother, but there's also like a socioeconomic issue behind this
Yeah, 'cause
as well.
it's
that
huge,
we're
'cause
not
keep-
we're
You're
not
right.
we're not stepping in a young, African American female who doesn't know much, who's not been taught much about her body, who doesn't know much about birth control, who takes part irresponsibly, and all of a sudden has no means to take care of this child because she's still a child. And I think that we feel like we
Keep in
don't
mi-
care.
Keep in mind, you're exactly right, Lena Seven. It is absolutely a socioeconomic issue because even if Roe versus Wade is overturned and is given back to the states, then if you're a woman of means, you can still get an abortion. You just go to the state that still allows it, which means you have to travel, have a hotel, which means money. So people with resources will still be able to get abortions. But on the socioeconomic level, lower tier folks, that's where the challenges will occur.
You're right. Because what's going to happen is that people are going to try to do self-induced abortions.
That's dangerous, very
that's dangerous, and we're going to lose lives as a result of this. And I know somebody who, in my family, lost their life because of that. So, I mean,
It's a
without
tricky-
bringing up a whole bunch of stuff, because, it's not my business to tell, but, we lost somebody very special because of that, because it was improperly induced abortion back in the day, and a family member's life was lost as a result of that. It really does happen. So what do we need to do as a community? I mean, is there anything we can do?
Absolutely. Well, elections have consequences. And what I mean by that is when you sit at home and, it won't really matter, my vote doesn't count,
Yep.
you're just wrong. And here's a
It's a lot
prime
to do with your
example.
life.
Right, prime example. Folks who chose not to show up for Secretary Clinton, this guy gets elected. He puts 2 conservative justices on the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court are lifetime appointments. It's not like, when that president leaves, that guy. No, they're on forever. And now the court is 5-4, leaning towards the conservative side, the right, towards 45's views, which is to overturn Roe versus Wade. So elections have consequences. Politicians select judges. You need to get out and vote.
That's about the only way at this point. Is there any way to reverse, what is the state that's made the
Georgia.
governor that's come out that say that abortion will be illegal in that state?
Georgia, I think.
No.
Was it Georgia?
I thought it was,
Well, Mississippi did
Mississippi
one. Alabama did
did
one.
one, right.
Georgia may be doing. Yeah, there are a bunch of these very conservative, what's called red states. Red are
Right.
really mostly Republican states that want to overturn Roe versus Wade. Yes. But it's not just one governor. That's what threw, I think, PJ and I off. There are several governors.
It's about, okay.
Because
So
they
it's
want their
mainly in the
state-
South right now.
Correct. I mean, but there are a couple other states kind of around, but it's mostly red states, and those are mostly Republican. And yes, some of those are what's called the Bible Belt. And
Right.
those are the southern portion states.
Wow, that is so unfortunate. Anyway, so
So to answer your question, so what you do in the meantime is you just put public pressure. So you call your member of Congress, you call your senator. If you see a parade or a march that's going to happen, go join it. Do things to really make a difference so people hear you, because it's the squeaky wheel in politics that gets the oil. So if they hear you, maybe the justices say, you know what, let's keep the precedent and keep Roe versus Wade the law of the land.
okay, wow. Okay, election. So let's move on to something really positive, right? Who is winning, Bernie or Joe Biden?
Well, full disclosure. Every time
Full
I gotta do full
disclosure.
disclosure. every time.
You got an announcement.
Vice President, no announcement. But Vice President Biden taught me in law school.
Okay, that's
So-
right. That's his
So,
last.
so I've known him for quite some time. He and my dad were tight. So, Biden is clearly, if you look at the polls, and I'm not just talking MSNBC, CNN, Fox News polls as well, Vice President Biden is way ahead of the group. And now it's a battle for second. It was Bernie solidly. Now it's Bernie and Elizabeth Warren with Senator Harris right behind them.
Right behind them
But
in
they-
second.
But they,
okay.
yeah, in
But how
second,
much
third.
how much behind?
Far behind.
Far behind Biden.
Far.
Really?
Far.
Like any catch-up ability?
Well, here's why Bernie. Well, let me tell you. Here's why Bernie did so well in 2016. Because his only competition was Hillary.
Right.
So he was able to draw a complete contrast with Hillary Clinton. This time, you got Beto, Elizabeth Warren. You got a lot of people kind of pulling at his base, and Mayor Pete. Shoot, Mayor Pete's doing great. So when you put all
Okay.
that in the mix, Bernie's just not able to have the same footprint he did before.
Right, because you almost don't hear about him that
He's
much.
one of 20 other people.
Yeah,
So you got
yeah.
Biden up here and the other 20 people underneath.
Okay, so can Biden maintain it, though?
I don't see how he.
We got a little
No,
ways to go.
A long ways to go. The debates haven't happened yet. The first caucuses haven't happened yet. The first primaries haven't happened yet. But when you look at the numbers deeper than just the horse race of what the numbers are, when you look behind the numbers and you see who's supporting Biden, the fact that people of color overwhelmingly support him. When you have so you have the progressives who are kind of split between a bunch of different people.
Okay.
Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Senator Harris,
Okay.
Mayor Pete. So they're all fighting. The challenge will be, assuming that Vice President Biden is a nominee, is the people that were supporting other people, are they pissed and like, we don't care, we're not going to help? The key is, if you really are into beating this guy 45, all hands on deck. You have to, yes, you supported your person hard. They didn't win, but you got to get behind. Now, in all fairness to the Republican Party in 2016, a lot of them didn't like, I hate to say the name, didn't like 45. He wasn't 45 then, but didn't like him. So what they did, but after he won, every single one of them endorsed him and said, you got our people. We have to be the same way. Democrats have a tendency, as I mentioned earlier, I want to make a point rather than we need to win. So hopefully.
But I think
good.
there is a perceived electability with Vice President or former Vice President Joe Biden.
Which way?
To be perceived that he can beat
Beat
45
yeah.
and be a great president.
Correct.
Not just beating 45.
Absolutely.
That he is electable and he's ethical, and he
I think that's
also
one of the
paid the
reasons-
ultimate price, the loss of his own son.
He did. And that's one of the reasons I think several of the reasons that you just articulated of why he's so far ahead. And I think it's going to be very difficult. And now, what will happen, what you'll see, is as people start to run out of money and run out of support, a lot of folks will start dropping. So where does that support go? When they drop out, if that support goes to Biden, then his lead's going to increase. And it's going to be very difficult for somebody to beat him at the convention.
Okay, so there's no tie between him and Sanders right now.
Tie?
Tie.
Who told you that?
I'm just asking.
Where'd you get
I
your
have
news
to
feed
ask,
from?
I have to ask all
feed.
these questions. No, I have to
No,
ask all these questions.
No, he's
Okay, so is it can we assume then that Biden's path to his nomination will be easy?
No.
No. Why?
Because politics is hard, hard, hard. And you never know what's going to happen. Clearly, he could make a gaffe. Something could come up. Somebody could catch fire. So, no, it's not going to be easy at all. And I don't think he would want it to be easy. You want to be battle-tested. Because when you get ready for this general election with this dude, you better be battle-tested. This is the varsity. Politics is not, as my father used to say, politics is not a spectator sport. It is contact. And this dude and his folks are going to do understand what I'm saying, whatever it takes to win. So it can't be close. Because if it's close, you saw what happened with Bush Gore. If it's close, I don't want to use the word steal, they take elections. So you can't make it close.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
You got to win by a lot.
Now, do you think that it could potentially hurt Biden because he waited?
No. Well, clearly not. You see the polling numbers.
No, I know
No,
that,
but
but
for
I'm
his-
saying
his
it's not going to
strategy-
hurt him
No.
because he waited.
No, but
a few years.
his strategy also was, I have the name recognition. I don't have to come out early like these other folks. And that his strategy so far seems to be working.
Right, but he also took off some years too, though. I mean, he
That's
didn't.
okay,
run
but he's
in
still
the last
well known,
election.
and his name recognition is still pretty high, obviously.
Wow. Okay. So you think you think he'll be the nomination?
I do think it'll be a nomination, nominee, but I don't think it'll be easy.
I mean, nominee.
Yes, but I don't think it'll be easy.
Even though he's way ahead in the polls. Really?
I don't think it'll be easy.
But when have you seen a candidate this far ahead in the polls who did not win the nomination?
And remember,
Anyone?
It's gonna it's
Right.
gonna narrow. It's not gonna stay like this. That's why I don't think it's gonna be easy. And politics is hard. You just never know, what can happen and what kind of unpredictable thing can go on. And
But everybody thinks he can box, like Muhammad Ali. I mean, come on, that's Biden.
Obviously, I agree. And see here's the piece that's gonna happen. Look, President Obama, this is his boy.
Yes.
He's doing everything. He's doing it the right way now. He's staying out of it.
He's
But
get.
when the chips come down, he's gonna say, "Look, this is my man," and that'll end the conversation.
But
Then-
when is he going to do that?
He's
Going to wait
gotta
till
wait.
once.
You
Okay,
gotta
so
give
he's
people
got to
a
wait
chance.
till when? After the election is.
No,
I mean,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry,
no.
sorry. No, the election. Once he's been declared the nominee, after the party.
No,
Before.
I think.
Oh wait. Okay.
If I were one of his advisors, I'd say do something that makes a difference. So probably this time next year, it won't be 20-some odd people. Several folks would have dropped off.
Dropped off. Right.
So
right.
then, as the head of the party, he's going to stand up and say, "Look, you guys gave it a great fight, but it's time to get behind Joe." Game
okay.
over.
Game over.
Game over. And then
Yeah.
once that happens, then the next piece is who will Vice President Biden pick as a running mate? You know my theory on that. Full
Yes,
disclosure.
you think it's
I think
going to
it's-
be Senator
I think it
Harris.
should be Senator Harris. I think you check a lot of boxes with that. You have the experience of Vice President Biden, who will go to battle with 45.
Yes,
And
he
then
will.
you have an African American woman as VP. Hey, checking all the boxes. Checking all the boxes. You're rewarding one of the backbones of the Democratic Party, which is African American women who have never strayed. They've always been loyal to the party.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you reward folks. Senator Harris, be our number 2.
All right.
That's a heck of a ticket. Can
That's-
you imagine Senator Harris and Pence? Please. Are you kidding?
Oh no!
I guarantee you.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she will tear him. Oh
They
no!
will
No!
only,
No! No!
because
No!
of that.
Oh,
they
she
will only
is
have-
so smart too.
Because of
I
that.
love the way she debates, though.
Here's a
Don't
prediction.
you? I
Prediction.
love the way she debates, though,
They
Michael.
will
I'm
only
telling you.
negotiate one debate between Harris and Pence
Oh, really? Why one?
because Pence won't
He's
want
not-
Pence up there with her twice. Oh,
she's
just
gonna cut him up.
She'll cut him up. Actually, frankly, anybody he picks as number 2 will cut up Pence. Now, in the debate with possibly the vice president and 45, he has to really call him out on his lies right in front of America. Because when he sends out on his Twitter account, he sends out lies every day. But there's nobody to back it up. Now, you may hear on CNN, but it's not 66 million people.
Yes.
So when you're on that debate stage
Yes.
and you have 100 million people watching,
Yes.
you're a liar. That's not true.
right.
You know you're lying about that. And just call them out.
Yes,
But,
absolutely.
I don't know if they'll take my advice.
All right, that's great. That is your race to 2020 with former council member and Honorable Michael A. Arrington Brown right here for
Young
the
people stay
hustle.
engaged. Young people stay engaged for 2020. Stay woke. Don't get frustrated about if your candidate doesn't win. Don't get frustrated with the ads you're going to see online. Stay engaged, and you got to vote.
Yes, get
sure.
out and vote right here from the hustle. My son PJ. Very good. Woo,
P.
PJ was good. Yes, the hustle.
Uber Eats on the mic.
Yes. Tuesday, 6 p.m. Don't forget, next week we're talking playoffs. We're going to see next week. We're bringing in all the crew.
Let's
next
go
week
Raptors.
to talk about it.
Let's
yes,
go
let's
Raptors.
go Raptors right here.
Don't worry.
From the hustle, we the shit up next. Holla at your girl later. Lena 7, I'm out. Look for me. Bye.